The article Boris Johnson's Brexit Deal Brings the United Ireland Closer by Jonathan Powell is published in the Financial Times in October. Jonathan Powell is not employed at the Financial Times, but his article is published by them. Jonathan Powell is a British diplomat and worked under the former Prime Minister Tony Blair from 1997 to 2007. They are both from the Labour Party, which is a centre-left party in the UK. Boris Johnson's intense optimism is this article's theme, and this is criticized, for instance, in the following quote on page 3, lines 16 to 18. This Trumpian Great New Deal will therefore not just take the Britain out of the EU, but may also mark the end of the Union, leaving a Little Englander government ruling a Little England. He is compared to the American President Donald Trump because they both communicate and overpromote the positive aspects and discount the negative long-term consequences. The main message in Jonathan Powell's article is that Boris Johnson's Brexit deal will lead to a soft Brexit for the Northern Ireland and a hard Brexit for the rest of the UK. This will probably lead to Scotland demanding the same treatment as Northern Ireland. According to the article, the Brexit deal and Boris Johnson may mark the end of the Union. The writer's tone throughout is critical of Boris Johnson, and it is clear that he disagrees with his politics and clearly expresses it in his discount. Jonathan Powell is both subjective and pro-EU. This is portrayed in the following quote. Mr. Johnson claimed he has delivered a great new deal that everyone else said he couldn't. In fact, it is neither great nor new. Boris Johnson's New Deal is, according to the writer, almost identical to the former Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit deal, but he has done some changes in relation to Northern Ireland, which Theresa May said no Prime Minister ever would do. The Financial Times is the most read business paper among people working in the financial sector. This article is therefore written to centre-left voters of higher education working in the financial sector. Brexit has in the UK and Europe been the main political theme the last years and is therefore relevant due to the consequences that will occur both in the UK but also in Europe. In 2016, the citizens of Great Britain elected the country out of the EU. This has been a long process, and multiple prime ministers and governments has failed to fulfill a Brexit deal, which has led to the election of the current Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson is in this article also criticized due to the growing acceptance of a united Ireland during the Brexit process, because voters who traditionally supported remaining in the UK drift to remain in the EU. At Tony Blair's first visit outside London after becoming Prime Minister in 1997, he told that he did not expect to see a united Ireland in his lifetime. If Boris Johnson introduced a hard border in the Irish Sea, the border will grow wider over time as Great Britain diverges from EU in terms of regulation and taxes. Jonathan Powell says this will lead to the Unionists losing their Britishness. Brexit and Boris Johnson may have done more for United Ireland than the ERA have. The ERA was an army who tried to end the British regime in Northern Ireland. This means that Tony Blair and DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party, made United Ireland in their lifetime. In relation to the course material, this article can be put into relation to the article Cruel Optimism. The article centers around how the Prime Minister's optimism dismisses and ignores the problem that his politics entail. Boris Johnson is criticized for only appearing to the wider, richer, older and maler ones. In this article, I just I just told you about, Boris Johnson's Brexit deal brings a united Ireland closer. He is criticized for not seeing how the Brexit deal may end the union. Boris Johnson's trademark has ever since his first speech as Prime Minister been his never-ending optimism and positive thinking. This has been criticized multiple times, including these two articles. To sum up, the article theme is optimism and how Boris Johnson does not see the Brexit deal's consequences. The Brexit deal are going to influence the union to a higher degree, which Boris Johnson does not take into account, according to the writer Jonathan Powell.